Okay, so we are entering our last session. So Camilo Matatira from Universidad Los Angeles.
I want to thank you for the invitation. I feel honored to be here, surrounded by you, by world-renowned economists. So I'm thrilled and I'm really happy to present the long-term impact of Encomienda in Colombia, the paper I'm writing with Fabio Sanchez Torres. So this is our agenda. First, we're going to see, we'll have a brief introduction, some literature review, and I'll explain my hypothesis. Then some remarks about Encomienda in Colombia, its beginnings, the Encomienda tribute per se, a fact sheet. Then some comments about the rise of Spanish colonial state at local level. Then the methodology, data, results, and some concluding remarks. And I want to ask you something, and it's this: can extractive institutions produce good results in the long run? Let me restate it. Can extractive institutions like forced labor or slavery, encomienda, can these type of institutions produce good results in the long run? And this is what brings me here. In the y-axis, we have the number of tributary Indians in 1560, more or less almost 500 years ago. And in the y-axis, the unmet basic needs index, that is a very robust measure of poverty. And in red is the linear feed of the data. And well, because we are talking about history, we know that the history matters. But this negative relation suggests that the highest number of tributary Indians actually is reducing poverty in Colombian municipalities. So can this happen? So let's start with a review of the seminal articles of institutions and long-run development. I won't stay very long in this because, well, here we have Mr. Robinson, and you already know, some of you might have read all of these papers. We have Engerman and Sokolov 2000, Acemoglu, Johnson and Robinson 2001, Acemoglu, Johnson and Robinson 2002, and Laporta, Lopez de Silán, Schleifer, and Vishny. But more recent literature has already addressed this topic. For instance, Dale in 2010 evaluated the Peru's mining meta. We have Banerjee and Iyer in 2005 that evaluated the impact of different colonial tributary regimes in India. Noon 2008 evaluated Africa's slave trade. Bruno Gallego, for instance, evaluated good, bad, and ugly institutions in America. And for instance, Acemoglu, Garcia Jimeno, and Robinson evaluated Colombian slavery, the impact on today's outcomes. Yet, the encomienda has not been studied yet. Other literature, but concerning state capacity, you have like Bork and Olson and Putterman that evaluated the impact of state history on economic development. We have Acemoglu, Garcia Jimeno, and Robinson 2015 that evaluated the impact of state capacity, but they claim that it's more, it has to do more with network effects. With state capacity and neighbor state capacity, we also have Dinelli and Rayner that evaluated political centralization in Africa and the provision of public goods in 1960, and Michaelopoulos and Papayanao 2013 about, they argue that the centralization in Africa, hierarchical structure, pre-colonial Africa, colonial tribes, the hierarchy of the tribes before colonization is a good predictor of today's outcomes. And this is our hypothesis. We claim that here, well, we have Encomienda, an extractive labor institution. Encomienda generated the emergence of local state and local state capacity. Encomienda disappeared, but the local state capacity persisted and is generating the long-term outcomes. Our main results are this. First, we find a positive impact of encomienda in a broad set of current outcomes, for example, higher GDP, GDP per capita, lower poverty. And we found no impact on inequality, as Engerman and Sokolov would have suggested. And we find that encomienda municipalities have higher current tax revenue and fiscal efficiency. We claim that the possible channel, as I told before, is state capacity and not population persistence, as Maloney and Valencia would have argued, or Mason in Colombia. So let's start by encomienda beginnings. What is encomienda? Encomienda was a system of forced labor implemented by the Spaniards in America during 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries. There was encomienda in Chile, there was encomienda in Mexico, there was encomienda in Colombia, almost everywhere where the Spanish were. But it has some characteristics. It has, like, the Spaniards received some restricted property rights over Indian labor. The Spaniards could extract tribute in the form of goods, metals, money, or direct labor services from the Indians, but the Indians did not belong to the Spaniard. They can only claim the tribute or the direct labor services. In exchange for what? In exchange for a tax to the crown called the Quinto Real, in exchange for defending the area, and in exchange for protecting the Indians, and the crown demanded the Spaniards to teach the Catholic faith. So, it's important to remark that the figure of encomienda existed in some capitulaciones. What was capitulaciones? Capitulaciones was that device that the crown used to conquer America. Because by the papal bulls of 1493 and 94, the Pope gave Spaniards almost all the American territory to conquer it, but they didn't have the money. So what did they do? They do some colonial project finance. They invented the capitulaciones, in which the holders were supposed to organize and pay the expenses of the exploration and conquest, and in return for governmental jurisdiction and fixed proportions of the treasure. So many conquerors that you know were capitulation holders. For example, Pizarro in Peru, Cortes, Diego Almagro here in Chile was a capitulation holder, are some examples. And in these capitulaciones, some capitulaciones had the property that the holder can grant encomiendas. The only one in this case was Pizarro, but Diego Almagro gave encomiendas, Cortes gave encomiendas without crown permission to do so. In New Granada, what happened was that Colombia here, a little part of New Granada, the conquerors distributed the Indians for their personal services after distributing the loot. So the Spanish came, they conquered the tribe, they subdued the Indians, they distributed the loot, the gems, the gold, and then they distributed the Indians for their personal service. And they did without having permission to do so. But years later, they asked the crown to make the official their tenure of encomiendas, and the crown said yes, with the condition that they teach Catholicism to the Indians. Regarding encomienda tribute, it is important to state that it's changed through time. At first, encomenderos demanded tribute of all sorts of personal services from the Indians. There was no crown regulation at all. They were free, the Spaniards were free to ask whatever they want from the Indians. For instance, it said that the Indians worked for the settlers in the mines, so they made them work in the mines, in agricultural and livestock work, as servants, as cargo carriers. There are histories that said that instead of using donkeys to transport merchandise, they use Indians. And were generally reliable to satisfy the needs of Spaniards of any way. See, so it's important to mention that this contributed to the disappearance of Indians in Colombia, because they died of overwork, besides of plagues and this kind of stuff. And when the encomenderos became rich and powerful due to encomienda, then the crown had no interest to regulate this, because the crown didn't want these encomenderos to become like powerful seigneurial lords in America and like fight for the sovereignty of these territories. So they began to regulate these encomiendas with laws, decrees, and visitas. For instance, the 1555 Levites said this, or decreed this, that Indians had to pay their encomenderos a yearly tribute in money or kind. They had to plant, harvest, deliver wheat, maize, barley, and potatoes to their encomenderos. And they had to provide Indians to serve in several activities. India had to provide wood, fodder for his horses, and also to provide cooks, maids, and errand boys. In addition, well, the crown always tried to forbid the Spaniards from getting personal services from the Indians, because they didn't want them to become like I told you, like seigneurial lords. but they were never able to fully regulate the encomiendas. It was very hard for them because they were in Spain. See? And here is like, for instance, the tribute they had to pay according to Levi 1555 for 3 encomiendas, Guatavita, Suezca, and Cota. For instance, Guatavita had to pay 2,400 in gold. I have the, what does that mean? 24, what do you say that? 240 mantas that were like square pieces of clothing that the Indians sewed. They had to provide this for personal services, 32. They had to provide maize, wheat, potatoes, woods, large beams for buildings, small beams, rods, wood for cooking, fire, and they had to provide beers too. And here is the encomienda faction. This is according to Visita 1560. That was almost that was a census of the encomienda of that time. And here we have that the number of encomiendas was 1,029. And here is the map of Colombia and the distribution of the encomienda in our territory. In green, a strong green, we have like low encomienda. In middle green and white is like middle encomienda. And in pink, we have a lot of encomienda. See, so the encomienda was concentrated in this area. We also have the total tributary Indians was like 200,000, according to these visitas. Tributary Indians were men Indians from 17 to 55 years of age. Researchers claim that if you want to calculate the total population, you have to multiply this number by 3 or 4. So we have like 600,000 Indians at that time. It was a lot, several years after the conquest. The max number of tributary Indians was 4,000. This means that there was an encomienda of 4,000 Indians. And it was here in Putumayo, this way, and the other one it was in Santander. It's important to mention something. For instance, this guy Diego Almagro and Valdivia here in Chile had like a lot of Indians. They were very, very rich. Cortés in New Spain had 20,000 Indians for himself. So he was very rich. Median tributary Indians per encomienda, 100. So you would expect every encomienda must have 100 Indians. And the number of municipalities represented or with encomienda is 337 out of 1,100 of the total municipalities in Colombia. Alright, now some comments about the rise of Spanish local state. It's important to mention that encomenderos started the state in the conquered territories. They founded that the actual cities, a lot of them were founded by the encomenderos. After they found a city, they established the cabildo, the plaza, a church, a jail, and sometimes a notary. So they started the state presence, these encomenderos. The town hall served several purposes. For instance, it served as a union of the encomenderos against the crown. The encomenderos almost like hated each other because they wanted the Indians of the others. But when it came to the crown, when the crown tried to regulate, they joined through the cabildo and they make they join forces against the crown regulations.
One quick clarification. So no encomenderos in today's Colombia means that there was no operation at that time, or
no, there was
no encomenderos. What meaning of zeros in that map? Because you have from 8 to a lot of encomenderos.
Yes, there were no encomiendas. We have all these visitas. We have the visitas that have like all the Indians, all the information with your reference, that data, and your references led to say that the encomiendas were in these municipalities that are colored, and in this one there is nothing. There were no Indians. Well, not that there were no Indians, but maybe there were little, but there was no encomiendas there. Maybe there were some nomadic Indians going around there.
I mean, but just a good question. Since this is going to be your main source of data, do you worry that they didn't visit all the encomiendas?
No, but I'm not worried about that, but because this guy was very like, he did, it's almost like a census. I trust this data But yes, it did. Here the problem was that there was no encomiendas. No, none at all. Yeah, so we are certain that these, for instance, these municipalities like in gray, there was no encomiendas.
But you know that from this census.
Yes, yes, that's our main source.
I mean, it would be good to check it with some angle or evidence, or just to be sure.
Okay.
That the
By the way, I'm taking because it's hard like to everything can be used against but I'm taking that because I'm very slow writing, so to have all your comments, I would really appreciate them. But I will check that, Francisco. Thank you. And here we have. With the town hall, they control the access to the land. The town hall gave the grants of land, and the town hall had judiciary power in the case of minor crimes. So the encomenderos had judiciary power over the Indians through the town hall. When the crown tried to control the encomenderos, first it resorted to the Real Audiencia de Santa Fe. With this institution, they take the judiciary power out of the encomenderos, because now that was like the authority in crimes, for instance. And they sent corregidores, oidores, visitadores, and procuradores that were like crown officials, like to check that they were complying with the rules. At the end of the 16th century, when the power failed because the Indians died, so the encomenderos lose their power, the crown started a purely fiscal state and began taxing the settlers as much as they could. So here, well, we have an institution, we have the encomienda. The question is, how can we assess the long-term impact of encomienda? What methodology should we use? And our first attempt was this, like, we have this model in mind, we have our long-term outcome as a function of the number of tributary Indians in logarithm for simplicity. And we use all the municipalities. This one had encomienda, this one doesn't, so let's see what happens. But the problem is that Bogota, our capital, had a lot of encomienda. And it wouldn't be fair to compare Bogota with these municipalities that are well, they're poor, they're almost, there are a lot of jungle here. So it wouldn't be fair. We would like be estimating something else that the impact of encomienda. So we can improve a little bit our strategy. So we use like Banerjee and Ayer. They restricted their sample only to, for instance, in this case, encomienda municipalities and its neighbors. So here it is. So we have like a more clean shot. And we could use OLS and IB. But the problem is that when we check the descriptive statistics, there are still differences in geographical variables between encomienda and encomienda neighbors. So if there's still, we could control for all those differences, but what happens with the unobservables? So we say, no, we can make something better. And this is what we propose. This is the spirit of our methodology, is to compare pairs of adjacent municipalities and control for all unobservables common to the pair. Let's say an example with Chiquinquirá. So Chiquinquirá is this municipality here. Chiquinquirá had encomienda, but most of its neighbors didn't have encomienda. So what we want to do is compare Chiquinquirá with Briceño, Chiquinquirá with Caldas, Chiquinquirá with San Miguel, Chiquinquirá with Tinjacá. So we want to compare our municipality with all its neighbors that didn't have encomienda. And our database would look something like this. We have Chiquinquirá and Briceño. They had this I pareja is like the key that identifies the pair for a neighbor pair of its effects that we're going to use. And we have Chiquinquirá Briceño, Chiquinquirá Caldas, and for every, we have all the possible combinations between an encomienda municipality and its neighbors. It's interesting to check that Chiquinquirá, and here we have NBI, the Unmet Basic Needs Index. Chiquinquirá is richer or is less poor than its neighbors. So it's like some anecdotal evidence that this may work. This methodology was implemented by Acemoglu, Garcia Jimeno, and Robinson when they assessed the impact of Colombian slavery in today's outcomes. I'm not going to stop at this, but we use exactly their same notation. The model looks like this. like, first, the database is composed of every possible combination of pairs GI standing